Two 17-year-old best friends vanished during a weekend camping trip. No bodies, no belongings, just a silent tent left behind in the forest. For 8 years, authorities called it a tragic accident, dismissing whispers of strange lights and a hidden cabin deep in the woods. But when a fisherman found a flash drive beneath a floorboard and investigators uncovered footage never meant to be seen, the case cracked wide open. Justice didn't come from the law, but from what the boys left behind. And now, the full story is finally ready to be told. Saturday, June 6th, 2017, elevation 3,720 feet. Location, Lake Clearwater, northern Idaho. Morning temperature, 51 degrees Fahrenheit, and climbing. Last known GPS ping, 47.2011 degrees N, 116.0129 degrees W. The Ford Ranger sat quiet under the shade of a spruce near the eastern lot of Clearwater Campground. Park Ranger Thomas Klein noticed it around 8:14 a.m. during his routine patrol. The truck was coated in thin brown dust, the kind that settles overnight in the mountains. Its windows were rolled up, and the tires were still warm to the touch. The only other detail worth noting, 2 sets of footprints leading west, into the trees. No signs of haste, no drag marks, no indication of anything wrong. The truck belonged to 17-year-old Tyler Morgan, a senior at Centennial High School in Boise. The registration was in his father's name. He and his best friend, Josh Behrens, also 17, had signed the logbook at the ranger station just the day before, noting their plans to camp for the weekend and fish along the western bend of Clearwater Lake. They had arrived Friday afternoon, June 5th, and hiked into the woods before sundown. Tyler was outgoing, curious, and known for always carrying a camera slung across his chest. He dreamed of photographing wildlife professionally, wolves if he was lucky. Josh, in contrast, was quiet, methodical, with an engineer's attention to detail. He had recently earned his amateur radio license and brought his shortwave gear to test reception by the lake. They were the kind of friends that didn't need to talk to understand each other. They'd done trips like this before, but never this deep into the wilderness, never this far from cell service. At 2:26 p.m. on Saturday, Tyler posted a 10-second video to his private Snapchat story. In the frame, he and Josh in a green canoe, gliding across still water under a bright blue sky. Josh is paddling. Tyler is laughing, filming a half-joking monologue. If we go missing, tell them we became off-grid legends. Then static. The clip ends mid-laugh. That was the last confirmed sighting of either of them. By Sunday morning, Tyler's father, David Morgan, grew uneasy. Tyler was usually bad at checking in, but radio silence for over 24 hours wasn't like him. He'd promised to text before they left the lake. At 10:03 a.m., David called the Clearwater Ranger Station. Ranger Klein returned to the site by 11:15 a.m. He found the boys' campsite untouched. Their blue and gray dome tent was zipped closed. Inside were 2 sleeping bags, still rolled out, and a plastic bag of trail mix, half eaten, next to an unopened bottle of water. A flashlight sat by the entrance. Nearby, boot prints suggested they'd returned after setting up camp, but their backpacks were missing. So were their phones. Most notably, so was the canoe. By 1:47 p.m., the sheriff was alerted. At 3:12 p.m., the first official 911 call was made. Dispatcher, 911, what's your emergency? Caller, Ranger Thomas Klein. Yeah, I've got a situation. Possibly 2 missing teenage boys. Their gear's still here, but they're gone. Canoe's missing. Phone's not reachable. Their parents haven't heard from them in over a day. Dispatcher, names and ages? Klein, Tyler Morgan and Josh Behrens, 17, out of Boise. You'll want to bring in search and rescue. Dispatcher, understood. We're activating the team now. Hey. By 4:30 p.m., the Clearwater SR team established a staging area at the boat launch. A rapid grid search was initiated, first by land with foot patrols sweeping through pine and alder groves, then by water, using a pair of inflatable boats and sonar gear. No immediate hits. A K-9 unit arrived just before dusk, but found no scent trail beyond the shore. At 6:52 p.m., a drone pilot spotted what looked like something bobbing near the far northern inlet, called Dead Horse Channel. It took nearly 40 minutes for the boats to reach it. What they found was not a canoe, nor any piece of gear, just a sun-bleached log tangled with moss. By 8:20 p.m., night was settling hard. The wind had shifted, clouds pushed low over the treetops, flashlights and lanterns swung in arcs across damp leaves and gravel. No voices called back from the dark. Radio chatter quieted. No footprints, no items, no signs of a fall or struggle. The two boys, their canoe, and all their equipment had simply disappeared. And this was only the beginning. Sunday, June 7th, 2017. Clearwater County activated full SAR protocol by 6 a.m. Temperatures hovered around 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Visibility was poor in the morning. Fog clung low across the lake. By mid-afternoon, a high-pressure front pushed the mist back, revealing the wide expanse of forest and water that now held two missing teenagers. The lake was roughly 1.7 miles across at its widest point, with an average depth of 92 feet. Its southern and eastern shores were relatively accessible, dotted with old logging roads and camp pullouts. But the northern sector, where the boys were believed to have paddled, was rugged, steep, and thick with second-growth pine. Rangers described the area as slow terrain, difficult to move through, especially under time pressure. By 9 a.m., a full SAR team of 27 personnel had arrived. They were joined by 2 K-9 units, 3 drones, and 1 sheriff's helicopter equipped with forward-looking infrared, FOLR. The teams divided into sectors, launching a coordinated sweep that would continue for the next 48 hours without pause. They started with the campsite. A grid was marked with yellow tape every 40 feet in all directions. Cadaver dogs sniffed the area but gave no alert. The ground was firm. No sign of a struggle, no blood, no drag marks. Rangers examined the footprint depth near the tent and determined the boys had returned there after canoeing, perhaps to rest or grab supplies. From there, however, the trail vanished. The nearby canoe launch offered no new clues either. One boot scuff on a flat rock, but no paddle, no clothing fibers, no overturned kayak. Dive teams arrived from Spokane later that day and began preliminary scans along the eastern edge, dropping weighted sonar cables to measure underwater disturbances. Nothing conclusive was found. As night approached, one of the drone teams picked up a faint heat signature roughly 300 yards west of Sector 3. A false lead. A downed deer, half covered in brush. Still, every ping mattered. Inside the Clearwater Incident Command trailer, maps were marked with grease pencil. Tyler's father sat quietly beside Sheriff Calvin Reed, listening as teams radioed in status checks every 30 minutes. The room was tense and increasingly quiet. Statistically, the first 48 hours offered the highest chance of finding the boys alive. After that, probabilities fell fast. At 11:47 p.m., a call came over the primary SAR radio. SR-3, Erica Klein. "We've just reached the inlet rock shelf, north side. Confirm no debris, no canoe. Visibility dropping." SAR command. "Copy that, Erica. Hold position. Thermal shows nothing ahead." SAR-3. "Negative. Water temps cold, about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. No ripples. We're turning east to follow the shoreline. We'll update in 20. That night, a ranger journaled in the incident log, "Everything feels still. Not just quiet. Still, like the lake swallowed something." By dawn on Monday, June 8th, no physical evidence of Tyler or Josh had surfaced, but the boys' families refused to leave. Flyers were already being printed, media vans were on their way from Spokane and Boise, and still no theory seemed to hold. There were no signs of animal attack, no trace of a capsized canoe, no indication that they'd left on foot. It was as if they had entered the lake and simply never returned. Monday, June 8th, 2017. Weather, 64 degrees Fahrenheit, light cloud cover, wind WNW at 7 miles per hour. Lake depth scan, initiated at 10:32 a.m., max depth recorded, 117 feet. SAR personnel deployed, 54. Civilian volunteers, 23. By the third day, Clearwater Lake was no longer just a weekend campsite. It had become the center of a full-scale emergency response zone. More than 50 trained personnel had arrived from across the region, Kootenai County, Spokane, and even 2 wilderness recovery specialists from Montana. Helicopters now rotated in 90-minute intervals overhead, mapping the terrain and scanning for any unnatural heat signatures. The shoreline, once pristine and quiet, was now striped with boot tracks, search flags, and echoing voices calling 2 names: Tyler, Josh. The initial search grid had covered a radius of 2 miles from the campsite. By Monday afternoon, that was expanded to 4.5. Civilian volunteers were formally integrated into the operation, paired with SAR team members to help comb over forest undergrowth, stream beds, and trail switchbacks. Many were locals, retired game wardens, seasonal hikers, or simply parents with teenage sons who saw their own children in the missing boys' faces. Sheriff Reed issued his first public statement at 12:05 p.m. from the mobile incident trailer. Sheriff Reed, press briefing June 8th. We are working under the assumption that Tyler Morgan and Joshua Behrens are alive and possibly disoriented in the surrounding forest. So far, we've found no evidence of foul play, nor confirmed signs of a water-based accident. The terrain here is deceptive: dense woods, deep coves, and minimal cell coverage. This is a wilderness search, not yet a recovery. Around the same time, the first major equipment upgrade arrived: the Kongsberg EM 2040 side-scan sonar system, borrowed from the Idaho Department of Fish and Game. It was mounted to the county patrol boat and began conducting systematic sweeps across the lake floor. At 3:42 p.m., during the third sonar pass, operators flagged an anomaly roughly 30 yards offshore, a cluster of metal objects in a V formation resting near the silt bed. Divers prepared to deploy. Excitement rose, but by 5:09 p.m., when the dive team surfaced, the report was disappointingly mundane: scrap fencing from an old dock collapse in the 1990s. Still, the lake was full of secrets. By that evening, the search effort shifted into nighttime mode. Floodlights were set up at key trails. Radio comms rotated to night frequency. A second drone team launched infrared-equipped units with extended battery packs to canvass the northwest forest line. One drone operator, 22-year-old Lena Pritchard, noted something strange in her incident log. L. Pritchard, SR drone operator log. Thermal patterns looked off around Sector 6B, like someone had walked a few hundred feet into the brush and then just stopped. Heat diffused too cleanly. No return path. By Tuesday morning, June 9th, the SAR crews had clocked 400 man-hours, with no evidence, no clothing, no dropped GPS units, not even a snapped twig clearly connected to the boys. It wasn't just that they hadn't been found, it was as if no one had ever looked for them at all. By now, media had arrived. Cameras panned over teams emerging from trees with nothing to show. Drones hovered quietly overhead. The public's appetite for answers was growing, and fast, but the lake kept its silence, and the forest gave up nothing. Wednesday, June the 10th, 2017. Press coverage, local, Tabihi-Wudiyumi. Regional Lake Clearance Zone extended, +2. 1 miles northwest, new civilian tips received. 17 verified leads, 0. By midweek, the quiet desperation of the search effort collided with the noise of the outside world. News vans lined up along County Route 38, their antenna masts jutting into the tree line, like steel saplings. Reporters from Boise, Spokane, and even Seattle gathered at the park entrance, jockeying for position behind yellow tape. The headline was simple but magnetic: 2 teens vanish without a trace at Clearwater Lake. What began as a local missing persons case had officially gone regional. Cameras turned to every SR team returning empty-handed. Volunteers were interviewed on the fly. Grainy clips of Tyler and Josh, pulled from social media, played on loop. In one, Tyler makes a goofy face in a cafeteria. In another, Josh is adjusting an antenna, serious, focused. Within hours, speculation replaced facts. Theories swirled online. Did they run away? Were they abducted? Was it something supernatural tied to local tribal legends? Authorities had to respond fast. Sheriff Reed returned to the microphone the next morning, this time firmer. Sheriff Reed, June 10th, 10:01 a.m. We are not ruling anything out, but there is currently no evidence of a crime, no ransom demand, and no indication the boys left willingly. Please, if you have factual information, report it. Speculation is not helpful. But speculation had already taken root. That afternoon, a woman named Carla Bain, 43, contacted the sheriff's tip line, claiming she had seen two boys matching the description at a gas station 20 miles north of the lake on the morning of June 7th. According to her, they were soaking wet, barefoot, and arguing in hushed voices near the ice machine. Investigators pulled footage from the location. The station's owner provided a 4-hour recording block. At exactly 9:32 a.m., two boys did enter the frame, both under 20, wet hair, wearing dark shirts. One gestured frantically toward the other. It matched Carla's description. Almost. But at 9:34, a vehicle pulled up and a man waved to them. The boys ran over. He called one of them Eli. They weren't Tyler or Josh. Tip hash 1, false. Tip hash 2 claimed the boys had been seen hitchhiking near Highway 8. Investigation revealed it was a pair of college students headed back to Moscow, Idaho. Tips hash 3 through hash 7 were variations of the same themes. Each investigated, each discarded. By Thursday, June 11th, the Clearwater County Sheriff's Office created a false lead task force just to manage the noise. Inside the Morgan home, Tyler's room remained untouched. His mother, Melissa, told reporters his phone background was that lake. He was obsessed with it. Not because it was pretty, but because it felt far. He liked the feeling of disappearing, I think. Just not like this. Investigators doubled down. Underwater search logs were extended. 2 new dive teams joined from Coeur d'Alene. They deployed thermal cameras, UV lighting, and sonar sweeps. Nothing surfaced. On Friday morning, a SAR volunteer, ex-Navy, wrote a single line in his mission log. Whatever happened here, it didn't leave a ripple. And then, on Friday evening, a CB radio operator in Hayden reported a faint, broken signal repeating the phrase, Tyler, Tyler, Josh, copy? Anyone there? The transmission was time-stamped, June 12th, 8:12 p.m. Frequency, 27.125 MHz, standard CB channel 14. It only lasted 9 seconds. No traceable origin, no follow-up signal. Theories exploded again. Was it real? Was it Josh? The sheriff's office brought in radio triangulation experts the next morning. But before they could trace the signal, it went silent. June 2018. June 2022. Cold case status declared August 3rd, 2018. Official missing persons classification. Open and unresolved items recovered. 0 confirmed sightings. 0. By the 1-year mark, the forest had grown back over the footprints. The lake, still and silver as ever, bore no sign of tragedy. Hikers passed through Clearwater Campground every summer, unaware they were pitching tents beside a decades-old mystery. No trail markers, no plaques. Only 2 names, Tyler Morgan and Josh Behrens, etched into a case file, still technically active, but gathering dust. The search hadn't ended quickly. Throughout 2017, monthly sweeps continued, some announced, most quiet. Divers from 3 states had scanned over 80% of the lake bed using Kongsberg sonar, bathymetric mapping, and side-scan arrays. Every effort came back clean. No metallic anomalies consistent with a canoe, no gear, no clothing, no skeletal remains. By October 2017, funding ran low. Volunteer numbers dwindled. The sheriff's department made the difficult call, suspend active search operations. The families, especially Tyler's mother and Josh's older brother Ethan, pushed back hard. They gave interviews, launched crowdfunding campaigns, even offered a $20,000 reward for any credible lead. But by New Year's 2018, the silence had deepened. Sheriff Reed delivered the hardest update yet on August 3rd, 2018. Sheriff Reed, press conference. After 14 months, with no new leads, no physical evidence, and no credible sightings, the Clearwater Lake disappearance of Tyler Morgan and Josh Behrens will now be classified as a cold case. The investigation remains open, but our resources are limited. We urge the public to come forward with any new information, no matter how small. Public interest had already waned. The story faded from the news cycle, replaced by new stories, louder disasters, flashier crimes. Only the families kept searching. On each anniversary, the Morgans and the Behrens returned to the lake. They brought candles, left laminated photographs near the ranger station. Josh's brother brought a framed photo of their last fishing trip together and mounted it to a tree facing the water. Hikers found it odd, haunting. Some took pictures. Most passed by without reading the names. Ethan Barron started a blog in 2020 titled Two Gone North. He uploaded old pictures, videos, and satellite overlays of Clearwater Lake. In a 2021 post, he wrote, "I used to dream that Josh just walked out of the woods one day, older, skinnier, hungry, but alive. Now, I just want to know where he stopped walking." The Sheriff's Department officially boxed the case files in December 2021. They were stored in a basement unit labeled CCPD Vanished. Inside, weather-faded photos, sonar maps, a few handwritten statements, no confirmed leads, no remains, no recovery. But in late spring of 2022, 5 years to the month after the boys disappeared, a new lead surfaced. A fisherman cleaning out an inherited cabin near Clearwater's west bank discovered something hidden beneath a loose floorboard, a flash drive. It was scratched, old, partially corroded along the USB edge. He plugged it into a laptop out of curiosity. The folders were unnamed, but the file dates matched 2017. There were 7 video files. The first 6 showed 2 boys, Tyler and Josh, laughing by a campfire, paddling the canoe, recording each other goofing off at dusk. The 7th was different. Shot at night, inside the tent, whined outside, low voices. Josh whispers something. Then Tyler freezes, his eyes locked on something off camera. He reaches toward the zipper of the tent, pauses, then the screen cuts to black. No scream, no sound, just silence. The fisherman brought the drive to authorities the next day, and just like that, 5 years later, the case reopened. Call to action. Comment still here if you believe some disappearances can still be solved. June 2022, March 2025. Case status, reopened digital evidence, 7 recovered video files, 6 clear, 1 corrupted, assigned lead detective, Sergeant Helena Voss, Cold Case Unit, Clearwater County. Conspiracy theories logged, 38 credible, 300-plus unverified online claims. The flash drive changed everything. Recovered on June 3, 2022, from beneath a loose floorboard in a shuttered fisherman's cabin, the device, an old SanDisk Cruiser 8GB, was immediately handed to Clearwater County detectives. For 5 years the case had stood still. Now it had motion, faces, voices, life. 6 of the 7 video clips were intact. They showed Tyler and Josh as they were, 2 kids reveling in the freedom of wilderness. In one, Josh tries to start a fire with a magnesium striker, cursing quietly as Tyler records and laughs off-screen. In another, Tyler films the lake at golden hour, his voice barely above a whisper. "If someone finds this, I hope the lake looks just like this. I mean, it probably will. That's the problem with lakes." But it was the final file that broke the silence of the cold case. It began abruptly, inside the tent, lit only by a small LED lamp. Timestamp, June 6th, 10:41 p.m. Outside, heavy wind. The camera was resting on its side, partially covered by fabric, so only half the scene was visible. Josh muttered something unintelligible. Tyler was sitting upright, staring past the tent flap. His face shifted, from confused to alert to afraid. He reached toward the zipper, paused, and looked at Josh. Then nothing. The footage cut out mid-motion. The file was complete, not corrupted. There was no technical error, just an intentional end. Digital forensic analysts confirmed the video had not been altered. No metadata tampering, no post-processing. It was real, shot on the camera Tyler had packed, but the drive had been buried, hidden. Whoever placed it beneath that floorboard had gone out of their way to keep it safe, and to keep it hidden. Detective Helena Voss was brought in from Spokane, a 14-year veteran of missing persons and homicide investigations. She had a reputation for methodical cold case work and zero interest in public drama. She refused to give press interviews, but in internal memos, she made her position clear. This is not closure. It's contact. Someone out there knows more, and someone out there tried to keep this silent. Her first move was to re-interview everyone connected to the lake in 2017. Rangers, dive crews, the drone team, and the original fisherman who had inherited the cabin. He claimed he hadn't visited the property in over a decade. His father had passed in 2021 and left him the land sight unseen. But records showed power was briefly restored to the cabin for 3 days in October 2018, a full year after the boys went missing. No one knew who authorized the reconnection. No credit card, no repair logs, just a timestamp. In the months that followed the flash drive's discovery, the internet lit up. Reddit threads speculated about secret military bases, deep-water predators, cult activity in the northern woods. TikTok sleuths dissected every frame of the final video, claiming to see shadow movement behind the tent. One video, zoomed and color-enhanced, claimed to show an arm outside the flap. Forensics debunked it, but the rumor stuck. In the real investigation, the lead turned toward the cabin. A new forensic team swept it from floor to ceiling. Under blacklight, faint boot scuffs were discovered near the back wall. A trace of deer blood was found beneath the sink, likely from field dressing. Nothing else. No prints, no documents, no personal effects. But one item stood out. A shortwave radio, detached from power, dusty, and silent. Model Yaesu FT60R, a unit identical to the one Josh had taken on the trip. Serial number defaced. Voss ordered it sent to a tech lab in Boise. Meanwhile, back at Clearwater Lake, SAR teams were reactivated for a limited 2-week sweep of the northwestern forest zone, an area that had once shown an unusual thermal pattern in drone data 5 years earlier. A new clue was emerging, but the wilderness wasn't ready to give it up. May 2025. Operation Clearwater ROV Sweep Tool, Seabotics LBV 305 ROV, depth at contact 103 FT key, discovery unregistered metallic object plus floating canvas strip. By late May, the investigation had narrowed to one remaining blind spot, the lake's deep north basin. The LiDAR and soil scan data from Sector 6B had placed Josh Barron's near the ridge above Dead Horse Channel. The lake directly below it, long overlooked due to sonar noise and drift errors in 2017, now became the epicenter of the case. The team deployed an industrial-grade ROV, equipped with sonar and high-resolution optics. It launched from a barge on May 24th. On the third dive, they found something unnatural. At a depth of 103 feet, partially embedded in the sediment, lay a metallic structure, smooth, rusted at the seams, with no ID plate or serial number. Roughly 6 feet long, shaped like a rounded capsule, with one end slightly open. The lakebed was quiet, undisturbed, but something had been placed here. On May 28th, dive teams descended. The first to touch the structure was Captain Elise Hannigan, a veteran of 3 deep recovery ops. She reported the object as cold, silent, hollow. No marine growth, no debris field, but there was something strange. It wasn't heavy enough to be a boat, and it had no obvious function, no hatch, no hinges. Then, as the team prepared to ascend, a piece of green canvas floated up behind them, ripped from the silt, faded, waterlogged, and stiff from time. Sewn into the lining were 2 letters, J.B. Josh Barron's. The divers didn't speak. They simply marked the location, bagged the fabric, and rose in silence. Back on shore, Detective Voss reviewed the video from the ROV. It showed what the divers had missed. Just behind the object, tangled in the weeds, a small handheld device, plastic casing, faded gray. Tyler's camera, June 2025. Recovery completed, June 3rd. Item ID, Nikon Coolpix, L840. Water-damaged file count, 1, recovered. Date, time, June 6, 2017, 10:52 p.m. Tyler Morgan's camera had been underwater for nearly 8 years. Miraculously, the SD card inside was still intact, water-damaged, but salvageable. It contained one file, video, untitled. Investigators watched in a sealed evidence room. The video opened mid-recording. Inside the tent, Josh is pacing, nervous, whispering. Tyler is holding the camera. His voice is low. It's still out there. The light's moving. Josh says something unintelligible, then, "I told you it's not a plane. It's right over the ridge." The tent glows faintly. A pulse of white-blue light washes over their faces. Tyler moves toward the zipper. "I'm going to film it." He unzips the flap. The camera shifts, points out into the trees. Nothing but darkness. Then the light returns, low, slow, silent, not flying, hovering. Between branches, a shape, geometric, seamless, unblinking. Tyler gasps. Josh steps back. The video shakes. Static. Then a sound, deep, almost infrasonic. The tent fabric ripples inward. Their voices vanish. The image fractures. White flash. Then, silence. That was the last anyone saw of Tyler and Josh. On June 6, 2025, exactly 8 years to the day since they vanished, Clearwater County held a press conference. Sheriff Reed stood beside the families. No questions were taken. Sheriff Reed: "While we have not recovered remains, we are closing the missing persons investigation of Tyler Morgan and Josh Behrens based on verified evidence. We now believe their disappearance involved circumstances beyond our ability to explain. The boys are presumed deceased. This will remain on record as an unsolved anomaly. No official cause was given. No theory was confirmed. The lake was closed for the summer. The cabin where the flash drive was found was demolished. The tent, the canvas, and Tyler's camera were sealed in archival evidence storage. At Clearwater's edge, a small wooden sign was installed. In memory, Tyler Morgan and Josh Behrens, June 2017. Lost to silence. They were here, we believe." Final reflection. Some disappearances are solved with footprints. Others leave only echoes. This one left a trace, but no trail. In a forest that swallows sound, near a lake that gives nothing back, 2 boys vanished, and left behind a question that may never be answered. Final call to action. Share to keep their memory alive. Some stories deserve to be heard.